Evelyn Hollow here, and welcome to today's video. So recently I've been thinking about drawing portraits again, because as you see here on my Instagram, I drew them a little while ago. I just woke up one day and wanted to try portraits, and I did like 6 of them quite closely together, and it's been a little while since I have decided to draw a portrait. And with how I drew my other portraits, I started with a reference image just like this one, and I'm not trying to get it too perfect. I just kind of want to get the likeness overall, and so this is the stage, I'll be honest, that most of the time I would give up. Back like years ago, or even just with my second drawing I do here, you get to a point where it's kind of like the ugly stage. The sketch, it never looks quite right, and so I've sped up the process so it looks quite quick, but this is usually what takes me actually the longest, is trying to get the sketch looking right. And yeah, it's going to be one of the hardest part, because you feel like it's just not going to look right, but then that's like the foundation for a good building. If you just jump straight into the details, you're going to have no idea where to place them, and that's how I used to draw, was going straight into the details, and let's just say they didn't look quite right. But hey, we've all got to start from somewhere. You know, we can only improve on what we've already drawn, so if we never draw, we can never improve. And that's a very hard lesson to learn, because I've definitely gone through art block and just feeling unmotivated, and just the best you can do is just keep trying. As hard as that is, it's really what makes a difference. So just learning different things, like rather than looking at necessarily drawing a nose or the eyes or the lips, I more look at now the shadows and the shapes around the eyes and what make up the eyes and nose, rather than, that's where I would get too lost in the detail, is trying to get the nose perfect. Well, now I'm like, look at the shadow around the nose, and that's how I feel like I improved a lot more on my technique, is rather looking at the bigger shapes, the bigger picture, rather than focusing too much on the little details. So that's why I didn't try to get my brush strokes super perfect, like airbrushed, like some of my old drawings, which I'll show you after this one. They were really bad, but hey, gotta, again, start from somewhere. Now, what drew me to this reference, like what I mainly liked about it, was her bright red lips. Well, actually deep red lips, but I like the highlight around her cheek and her forehead, how it's like quite sharp. And then I also really like how her black hair has that almost like halo effect, like quite a round highlight, but it's very strong against her black hair, like the white. Such a good contrast, which I really wanted to try and paint. And here she is, all finished. I'm so excited, I'm so happy, because I had made a break since I'd done portraits, and I didn't think it would go that well, but I'm so glad I pushed through and finished it. And as I mentioned before, here are some portraits. This is the second portrait I think I ever drew digitally. As you can see, my brush strokes weren't very confident, and that's understandable. I was quite scared, but still proud of myself that I even tried to draw a portrait. And then down here is my first ever one. I'm pretty sure maybe I did a few that I just didn't post, but as you can see, I was very fond of the airbrush. Just everything is just so flat, and I was just not confident brush strokes, and I painted this pretty soon after I watched Enola Holmes, and yeah, I've come a long way. I've come a long way. For my second portrait for today's video, I decided to, rather than show you the process of the sketch, just to show you pinpoints of like the first sketch layer, which was more messy, and then the next one that's outlined, a bit more refined, and then jumping straight into the colour. I just thought then that would save a bit of time. You already saw my process with the first portrait. Since I didn't talk about the process much with my first portrait, I thought I would with this one. As you can see, I started off with a big block of colour, then I kind of started to like sculpt the face in a way, adding deeper shadows and then the highlights to pop from the reference. I really liked her. Again, this is how I choose most of my references, is how the shadows and highlights look. I just love how it goes across from her eyebrow to her cheekbone. I think the highlight just pops so well, and I really wanted to try drawing it. So the difference with my old portraits and this one, what was kind of my downfall, I guess now, it's probably a bit too dramatic, but the face, I just used an airbrush like I mentioned before, and faces are so textured and have so much depth, and just, they are not flat. They're very far from flat, but I was just very used to using an airbrush. I didn't quite know Critter had so much to offer, and so I found this more textured brush that has slight little bristles on it, which I like the painted look it gives the actual drawing. And so, as you can see, I'm just sculpting out the face. This is just the long process of the drawing, and it's good to take breaks. Like, I sometimes flip the canvas, or just, if you can't flip the canvas, like, you know, with traditional drawing, you go take a break and then come back and your eyes will adjust and see kind of the different things. Like, sometimes you can draw the eyebrow a bit too high, but your eyes have been so used to it from looking at it for so long that it looks normal. So when you go away and come back and look at your reference, you'll start to see, I need to move that down or change that around now. My drawing doesn't look exactly like the reference, but that's not really what I was going for. Like, in a way, I was just trying to capture the likeness, and if I wanted to get it photorealistic, like super perfect, then I just think you've already got the photo for that. You know, the kind of charm of your own drawing is that it has a little bit of, it's got a little bit of like your own uniqueness, and has your own style and a bit of a character you kind of add to the picture. Here I am finally adding in the eyes. I don't know why, I kind of leave them until not necessarily the last minute, but I just want to get all the features around the face, and then I feel like the eyes, if you add them too early, can also look kind of creepy, but if you leave them too late, they kind of look, they just don't have that, you know, they just look quite empty again in a lot of ways. So I really like adding the eyes on a separate layer, so if I need to move them, it doesn't disturb the whole rest of the painting. And I really like drawing her hair. I just had so much fun doing like little flyaway pieces and adding the highlights with that textured brush. I just think works so well. For this whole picture, I basically used one brush. For the sketch, I think I used a simple like line brush. This, I think I used a tiny bit of airbrush for on her highlight, but then went back over with that textured brush again. I still find eyelashes quite hard to draw. I feel like they just end up looking like spider legs sometimes. I tried my best not to do that. I think that's a bit easier with trying to do lighter strokes. If I went in with a really hard outline of the eyelash, I think that's what my problem used to be with my drawings, and so I've learnt to overcome that. But there's definitely areas I can still improve, and that's why I'm excited to keep drawing and keep looking up tutorials on YouTube. There's so many helpful ones out there. And here I am just kind of adding the last few like details, fixing up areas where I think I put a little bit too much texture, and the overall picture is done, and I am so happy with both of them. I'm really glad I took this challenge upon myself, and I haven't made a video of trying to draw realism before. I tried my best not to move the camera too much so it didn't make you feel too dizzy, but I really enjoyed sharing this process with you guys, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day or night wherever you are, and keep creating. It's very fun.